Hey everybody, this is Finch from Flipside Tactics, and this is yet another episode of Dota for Dummies. This episode is going to be a little bit of a short one. It is going to be all about micro and microing units in the world of Dota 2, and some tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier for you guys. Right away, I'm playing Enchantress. This awesome Enchantress set. This looks pretty sweet. And over in the settings is where we will start. If you look down here under the unit actions, and this is just the default homepage. You go under Select Hero. I have Select Hero as just one, so every game I load into, I tap one, it's on my hero. I don't have to worry about setting it. That's just default all across the board, very easy. I also have Select Courier, and that's on F1. Every game I load into, I hit F1, it selects the courier. I don't use the Select All Other Units or Select All Units, both of these. You can use them if you want. Select all units would be, say I might control a Wildkin. I have select all units, let's say like 2, so I hit 2 and it gets Enchantress and the Wildkin because they're all under my control. Select all other units would be, say once again I have a Wildkin and Enchantress. I hit, say this is 3, I hit 3 and it's going to grab just a Wildkin. Personally, I like to control each of the guys I'm microing individually because I've figured out systems on who goes on what hotkey and how they interact and things like that, so I just do better personally when it's in the game. Same thing for Select Courier. The default hotkeys work totally fine. The next thing is going to be control groups. The only two we're really going to focus on here is going to be Control Group 2 and Control Group 3. Control Group 1 is already on the Select Hero, so I'm not quite sure why it says Alt Mouse. Maybe that's just a mistake, but it doesn't matter because the hero is going to be on 1. 2 and 3 though, those are the ones we need to worry about. So when you have another unit under your control, you're going to want to hit Control plus 2 on your keyboard. Same thing if you want to pick another unit to put on 3, you hit Control plus 3. That's pluses in both of them at the same time, not the actual plus key, just to clarify. So these two are the ones I use mostly, so at the end of the day, it's just 1, 2, and 3 are the 3 controls that I need to remember and keep and put units on those. If you feel like you need more, go ahead and use all of these. Personally, I do not, just because the rest of these, 6, 7, 8, 9 are so far across the keyboard that it's going to pull your hand away. You don't really want to do that. And also 4 and 5, like I talked about in the first episode, I use those for items. And most heroes, you really only need 3. That's kind of how I found the magic number. So if you're playing Beastmaster, you get Beastmaster on 1, the Boar on 2, the Hawk on 3. If you're playing Enigma, Enigma's on 1, you put the Eidolons on 2. If you're playing Enchantress or Chen, Enchantress or Chen on 1, you put maybe a Centaur on 2, and you put a Wildkin on 3. Generally, you're only going to have 2 to 3 creeps following you around, and you don't need more than that. Where it gets tricky is where you're playing someone like Meepo. You get an Item Scepter, now you have 5 Meepos with only 3 hotkeys, so you can kind of get tricky and maybe put 1 Meepo on 1, 2 Meepos on 2, 2 Meepos on 3. You could do all Meepos on 1, and you could use Tab to cycle through those units. Maybe just put 1 Meepo on 1, and then all the Meepos on 2 or 3. So you can figure out what works best for you and what is most comfortable. Generally, if you're a new player to Dota, you're not going to be playing Meepo, so that's kind of something down the road you want to worry about. But for the time being, 1, 2, and 3 is totally fine. So let's head into the jungle, and we'll talk about controlling units. The same thing still applies. You double tap the hotkey, it'll bring you to the hero. So if I double tap 1, brings me to Enchantress. If I double tap 1 and hold it, it follows Enchantress. The same thing works to where if I have a creep under my control, same thing, I can just double tap it and it grabs it. So right away we got a Wildkin. We will grab him, we will hit Control 2. Now he is going to be, so we can cycle between 1 and 2. Between these two, you can double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap, back and forth. You can box, highlight both of them. If I highlight both of them, when I hit Control 3, so now I have 1, I move Enchantress, 2, I move the Wildkin, 3, I can move both. If you feel like you need all of your units on the same hotkey, this is useful. You can do that, it's totally fine. Another thing that's useful is that if you grab the unit that you have under your control, and then you just right click on yourself, that unit's not going to attack you, but it's going to follow you. So in this instance right here, I don't have the Wildkin selected, but I'm having him follow him. He's following me, I'm getting his aura. This is useful if you have something like an Alpha Wolf, even the Centaur here. they just follow you. They give your teammates the buff. If you're a little bit hesitant on the micro portion of things and you know, control them all individually, it's easy just to click both of them and they'll follow you around. Actually, one thing I just did there and I didn't really talk about it, is you can shift to do stuff. So I have it here. I hold shift. I left click him. It selects both of them. I can shift. That's how you add units in the same hotkey. That's one of those things. If you played StarCraft, it will carry over.
The other fella's aiming
so let's go grab one more guy. So right now, this guy's on 3, Enchanter's on 1, Wildkin was on 2, but the Wildkin died. The hotkeys do remember what units are on that. So right now, if I get another Wildkin over here, as long as I don't override the hotkey 2, Dota remembers that the Wildkin was on 2. If I get another Wildkin, it'll remain on 2. This is very useful if you're playing something like Beastmaster, to where you put the boar on 1, the hawk on 3. Say the boar and the hawk die, or they run out of time. You resummon them. You don't have to re-keybind the hawk or the boar. Throughout the whole game, the boar is always going to be on 2. The hawk is always going to be on 3. This is very, very useful, and so you don't have to think about, you know, oh shoot, I need to bind this guy again every single time you summon him. You just don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about it. The only time you will have to worry about it is if you override that hotkey, or if you misclick and you remove it for some reason. But most of the time, you're not going to do that. And it's definitely very, very useful, and it makes it a little bit easier to play heroes that use the same type of units over and over. So something like Enigma, something like Beastmaster, something like Broodmother, where you're spawning the same units over and over again. You want them to show up on the same hotkey. So we did not get a Wildkin, but take my word for it that it shows up again on that. Another thing that's useful is if you have all of your units, I think in the setting here, under control group tab, so that's going to tab through your control groups. So right now I have all these guys. You see all 3 of them on the bottom. If I hit tab, it's going to begin cycling. One thing to note too is since I have all 3 of them selected, and I can tab, I can still move as a unit. You know, I move all of my units together, and I'm able to tab through them. This is particularly useful if you're playing someone like Meepo, so you can have all of them selected. You can just tab through each of them. Tab W, tab W, tab W for, you know, mass poofs, things like that. Also for if I'm, you know, going to go gank, I want to get to the satire, you can do that and you can click Q. I wouldn't suggest doing that, but you can do it. I did like to have satyr on 2, alpha wolf's on 3. Yes. They're all individually, so the wolf's going to be following me, this guy's going to be coming along with me, and you can just kind of cycle between both of these. When you get to the fight that you need to do, you can come up here, you can click, it's just all practice that you need to do. You need to work on controlling your units as a unit together. You can use some of these tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier on you. So things like having them follow you, I think, is something that obviously you could do better, but it's also something you can just right click on yourself and walk around and not have to worry about it as much, and you still give the aura to your teammates. Obviously, if you have something like a troll where you need to use the ensnare, you're going to want to have him on his own hotkey, so you're able to cast the ability when you need it. One thing I do sometimes is I'll have him follow me, and I'll grab this alpha wolf. I'll have the unit follow me when I'm in, you know, when I'm walking around, because there's nothing worse when, you know, people do this all the time and it's so frustrating. They have all their units boxed and then they're trying to walk, and then their hero, like right now Enchantress, she just keeps running into the back of them. That's just, it's very, very frustrating to see that, because obviously she moves quicker than the units. So have them follow behind her. You know, you have this little train, and then when you come over and when you get ready to gank in this situation, then you just grab the troll, and then you have the troll on its own thing, and you can move it around individually. But that pretty much wraps up this episode of Dota for Dummies. Hopefully these are some tricks that help you guys out for microing units. The only thing I'd say is don't be afraid of units that require, I guess, heroes that require a lot of micro. A lot of people say, you know, you shouldn't play heroes that require any sort of micro for quite a long time. Personally, I find the heroes that utilize micro very enjoyable. Maybe don't play Meepo, because it definitely requires a different level of micro. But Enchantress is a blast to play, and Chen is a blast to play. Even someone like Beastmaster, I have tons of fun playing him. Enigma is great. If you control his Eidolons really well, you can get a ton of kills early game with the amount of damage they put out. Lone Druid, another one, requires, obviously the more micro you have, the better he is. But they're fun to play. They're something different. They're unique to Dota. It's not like you can only control one hero or one unit. You control multiple units, so give it a shot. Obviously, if you find one you like, go into a bot game and practice it over and over and over, and get comfortable of just cycling through those numbers, those hotkeys. You know, whatever control groups you use, you don't need to use the 1, 2, and 3 like I do. That's just personally what I've been comfortable with and just got used to. You can use, you know, any other button on the keyboard that is useful for you. If you want to use something like a mouse button to cycle through, and whatever works for you personally, you just need to figure it out, and then go into a game, practice it, and use things like tab through the units and controlling each of them individually, have them follow you, all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully makes it a little bit easier and a little bit less intimidating. So thank you guys for watching. Dota for Dummies will be back again next week. My name is Finch from Flipside Tactics, and if you guys need some more info or looking for more content of ours, just head over to flipsidetactics.com and you can see all of our exciting stuff that's coming up.